I wasn't supposed to be in the break room that late. The lights were dimmed, casting long shadows over the tile floor. Most of the office had already emptied out, and the only sound was the quiet hum of the vending machine. I was just grabbing a coffee to keep me awake for another hour of mind-numbing revisions on a proposal I'd poured 3 weeks of my life into. That's when I heard her voice, soft, but unmistakable. "I've already sent him the presentation. He thinks I created it. We're good to go." I froze. The words weren't just casual office chatter. They were hushed, deliberate, and calculating. I peered around the corner, heart suddenly pounding in my chest. The person standing there, whispering into her phone with a smirk on her face, was Rachel Green, my closest colleague and, until now, someone I thought I could trust. Her back was turned, but I knew that confident tone all too well. The very presentation she was talking about was mine. Every chart, every data set, every line of copy, I had crafted it painstakingly for the executive pitch next week. And now, she was taking credit for it? I ducked back, adrenaline surging through me. My hands trembled as I gripped the edge of the counter. Did I hear that right? Could she really be capable of this? I tried to shake it off. Maybe she meant something else. Maybe it wasn't my presentation. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But something deep inside me, some primal instinct, whispered otherwise. Rachel and I had joined the firm around the same time, rising quickly through the ranks. She was charming, sharp, always dressed impeccably in tailored suits and lipstick that somehow never smudged. But behind her polished smile, there had always been an edge, a gleam in her eyes that suggested she liked winning just a bit too much. Still, I never thought she'd betray me like this. I returned to my desk and opened the presentation file. Everything was in order. No signs of tampering. But what if she had downloaded a copy earlier? What if she had forwarded it to our boss, David, claiming it as her own? I glanced at the time, 11:37 p.m. The office was nearly silent. My pulse thundered in my ears as I checked my email sent folder. No recent messages. Then I checked the shared cloud drive permissions. That's when I saw it. A copy of the folder had been downloaded 3 hours earlier. By her. I felt like the floor tilted beneath me. My chest tightened, anger and disbelief crashing over me like a wave. She really did it. She stole my work. The presentation wasn't just another assignment. It was the final hurdle for the regional director role. I'd spent late nights, sacrificed weekends, and skipped family gatherings for this opportunity. I needed this promotion, not for the title or the money, but for what it represented. Finally being seen, finally being recognized after years of grinding behind the scenes. And now she was trying to take that from me. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake in bed, replaying every interaction we'd had over the last few weeks. Her sudden interest in my project. The questions she asked that now seemed less like curiosity and more like recon. The time she offered to proofread my slides. I had been so blind. By morning, a pit had formed in my stomach. I walked into the office with a calm expression, but inside I was spiraling. She greeted me like always, big smile, coffee in hand, acting like nothing was wrong. "Morning, Em. Rough night," she said sweetly, eyes scanning my tired face. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. "Yeah, lots to do." She walked past, humming under her breath, completely unfazed. That was when I knew she had done this kind of thing before. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and started digging. If she wanted to play dirty, I could too. But something unexpected happened later that afternoon. An email popped into my inbox from David. "Rachel just sent me a fantastic draft of the regional proposal. Great work, team. Let's finalize this version for next week's board meeting." Team? She was looping me in as if I had helped her. I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening. No acknowledgement of my name. No CC on her original email. She had stolen it, polished it, and passed it off as hers. I stood up and walked to the restroom, locking myself inside a stall. That's when I let the tears fall. Not because I was weak, but because I had let my guard down. This wasn't just about a project anymore. This was war. The next few days felt like walking through a war zone in disguise. Rachel acted as if everything was perfectly normal. She still laughed at our team's inside jokes, still stopped by my desk to ask meaningless questions like, "Did you see David's tie today?" Or, "Should we get lunch later?" All while parading my work around the office, like it was her masterpiece. But every time she smiled at me, it felt like a knife twisting in my side. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know if David actually believed it was her idea or if he just didn't care. That made everything worse. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to march into David's office with my laptop and scream the truth. But I knew how that would look. Rachel had always been the office darling, poised, polished, charismatic. Me? I was the quiet one, reliable, but forgettable. If I accused her without solid proof, I'd look jealous. Or worse, unstable. And Rachel knew that. That's why she felt so confident walking around like a queen who had already won the crown. So I decided to do something I'd never done before. I started playing her game. The first thing I did was make copies, screenshots, timestamps, cloud access logs. Everything that proved the original files were mine. I saved them in a folder named Vacation Photos on an encrypted flash drive I kept in my purse. Just in case. Then I started watching her. Closely. She was too confident. That was her weakness. She thought I was too weak, too quiet to fight back. But I was paying attention now. I noticed things I hadn't before, like how she always stayed behind after meetings to chat with David, or how she managed to spin every group discussion back to her contributions. I wasn't just being paranoid. I was seeing the pattern. One afternoon, during a project review, she made a sly comment in front of the team. Well, I told Emily we needed a better visual approach, so I helped her tweak the graphics. I hadn't even spoken to her about the graphics. The room laughed politely. I smiled too, but my blood boiled. Later that evening, I confronted her in the parking lot. It wasn't planned. I was on my way to my car when I saw her lingering by hers, pretending to check her phone. I hesitated. Then I walked over. "Hey." She looked up, feigning surprise. "Hey, you okay?" I studied her for a moment. She wore her usual friendly mask, but her eyes were alert, calculating. "I just wanted to say, great job on the proposal," I said flatly. She tilted her head. "Thanks. I really pushed myself on that one." That was it. Confirmation. She didn't blink. Didn't even hesitate. I gave a tight smile. "Right. Well, see you tomorrow." "See ya," she said, turning back to her phone. I walked away, heart pounding. She wasn't going to stop. Not unless I made her. The next day, something odd happened. My calendar invite for the executive pitch rehearsal vanished. At first, I thought I'd just forgotten to add it, but then I checked the logs. It had been deleted from my end. My fingers trembled as I rechecked everything. The meeting was still on. Rachel was still attending. But I wasn't. That was the final straw. I didn't sleep that night either. I stayed up drafting an email. Not to David. Not yet. I needed more. I needed undeniable proof. Something public. Something that couldn't be explained away or swept under the rug. I created a decoy file, another presentation, similar in tone but embedded with digital watermarks and invisible tracking links. I shared it with Rachel, pretending it was a new revision I wanted her feedback on. She didn't reply. But 2 days later, I saw my version, watermarks and all, show up on the company's shared drive, under her name. I had her. What she didn't know was that I had set the watermarks to send pingbacks every time they were accessed or copied outside the source folder. I printed the pingback report, attached the screenshots, created a PDF timeline of every change, every stolen file, every deceitful move. Then I waited. It was the morning of the executive pitch rehearsal. The room was full, department heads, senior managers, and, of course, David. Everyone sat around the long glass conference table, papers neatly stacked in front of them, waiting for the presentation to begin. Rachel stood at the front, poised and glowing in her navy blue blazer. She adjusted the clicker in her hand with the confidence of someone who believed they had already won. And why wouldn't she? In her mind, the spotlight was hers. The glory was already being wrapped in a bow with her name on it. I sat near the end of the table, my expression unreadable, hands folded calmly over my notepad. But inside, my chest was thundering. Not with fear anymore, but with anticipation. This was the moment I'd been building toward. Rachel clicked to the first slide and began to speak in that perfectly practiced tone. Today, I'm going to walk you through a strategy designed to increase our Q4 outreach by 30% using a revised digital funnel and regional analytics. Slide by slide, she presented. Words I wrote, graphics I designed, data I compiled. She didn't change a single thing, not even the placement of the bullet points. She didn't realize the presentation was a trap. When she got to the slide with the embedded watermark, the screen flashed. Just a second. Barely noticeable. A tiny logo I had inserted into the lower corner flickered onto the screen. Copyright Emily Carter, original content. Rachel faltered, just a beat. Her eyes narrowed, but she continued. Then came the second watermark, embedded as a white-on-white text block. When magnified on the screen, it became slightly visible under the projector's lens. Created by Emily Carter, time-stamped copy. Now the room stirred. David leaned forward. Rachel, can you go back to that slide? She hesitated. Of course, she said, trying to keep her voice light. The slide popped back up. David squinted. What's this text at the bottom? Rachel clicked again, trying to move on. Oh, just a formatting issue. Probably something left over from a template. Looks like a watermark, said Melissa, the head of legal, who had just walked in. I'm sure it's nothing, Rachel stammered, glancing quickly at me. I didn't move. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. David turned to me, brows raised. Emily, you've worked on similar reports before. This watermark, it has your name. Any idea what this is? All eyes turned toward me. I inhaled slowly. My hands didn't shake this time. Yes, I said, keeping my voice even. I created this presentation. The entire structure, analysis, visuals, everything. I embedded watermarks because I had a feeling it might be misused. Silence. Rachel's mouth parted, but no sound came out. For the first time since this all began, she looked unsteady. David's eyes darkened. Rachel, did you submit this file under your name? She blinked. I was just helping Emily. She asked me to review it, and Did you tell me you created it? He interrupted. She stammered, looking around the room for support. But no one spoke. Even her usual allies kept their eyes down. I opened the folder in front of me and slid it across the table. This has the original drafts, the time-stamped revisions, cloud activity logs, and the embedded watermarks. You'll find the tracking pings as well, showing when and where the file was accessed from Rachel's credentials. David opened the folder, his lips pressed into a thin line. He skimmed the contents, page by page. Nobody breathed. Rachel backed away from the screen, her hands trembling now. I didn't think it would get this far, she whispered. I turned to her, meeting her eyes for the first time in weeks. You didn't think I'd fight back. She flinched. David closed the folder. Rachel, I'll need to speak with you in my office. Immediately. Emily, stay. Rachel looked like she might cry. But no tears came. Just panic. Regret. Fear. As she walked out of the room, her heels no longer clicked with power. They dragged. Quietly. I sat still as the door shut behind her. David looked at me. Why didn't you come to me earlier? I needed proof, I said. Real proof. I've seen how easily the wrong person can twist the story. He nodded slowly, his eyes thoughtful. I'll be reporting this to HR, he said. And I want you to know, you handled this with incredible professionalism. I didn't smile. I didn't feel victorious. Not yet. But something inside me had shifted. For the first time, I wasn't invisible. The office was quieter than usual the next morning. Rachel didn't show up. No one said her name, but her absence lingered like smoke in the air, unspoken, uncomfortable, and everywhere. People walked by my desk with sidelong glances. A few even offered polite smiles. One person whispered, "Good for you," as they passed. I kept my head down and focused on my screen. I thought it was over, until I got the text. Blocked number. You think you've won? This isn't over, Emily. My chest tightened. My fingers gripped the edge of the desk. The moment I had waited for, vindication, peace, it was now being tainted by something darker. She wasn't finished. Later that day, David called me into his office. His face was grave, unreadable. Emily, HR has finished their preliminary report. Rachel won't be returning to the company. She's been terminated, effective immediately. I nodded, the words sinking in like a stone in water. Thank you. He hesitated. She's blaming you. She's threatening legal action. I looked at him, steady. I have every document, every timestamp, every digital footprint. She can try. He nodded. I believe you. I just wanted you to be prepared. This might not be the end of it. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at my computer. The adrenaline from the past few days had faded, and all that remained was a strange, hollow ache. I should have felt triumphant, but I didn't. Not really. I kept replaying everything, how she had smiled at me while betraying me, how she had casually erased my name and replaced it with hers. The betrayal still burned. But now it was my turn to close the book, for good. I opened my inbox and pulled up a draft I had written weeks ago, but never sent. A message to Rachel. Unfiltered. Honest. A message she would never be able to spin or manipulate. Subject. You chose the wrong person. Rachel, you thought I'd stay silent. That I'd let you win. That I'd keep shrinking to make room for your lies. You underestimated me. You stole from me, and then you tried to erase me. But here's what you'll never understand. People like me don't break. We bend, yes. We absorb the pain. We retreat. But then, we come back stronger. And when we do, we don't just fight, we finish it. Enjoy your silence. You earned it. I didn't send it. I deleted it. Because that was the real victory, not needing her to see my strength. The next morning, I received a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened. Rachel's voice, breathless.
Shaky.
Emily.
I'm sorry.
Pause, I messed up. I messed up really bad. You didn't deserve that. None of it. I wanted to matter. I thought if I just got ahead, it would all finally make sense. I didn't mean to hurt you, not really. But I did. And now it's all gone. I stared at the phone for a long time. My hands didn't tremble this time. My chest didn't ache. I felt clear. That night, as I left the office, I ran into David at the elevator. He smiled. You coming to the leadership retreat next week? I blinked. I wasn't invited. You are now, he said, pressing the elevator button. And Emily, I meant what I said. You've got something this place needs. Don't let anyone dim that. I nodded, a quiet strength rising in me. As the elevator doors closed behind him, I stood still for a moment, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. Rachel tried to erase me, but instead, she helped me find my voice. Weeks passed. Rachel's name faded from conversation. Her desk was cleared out one weekend while the rest of us were off the clock. All that remained was the empty chair, a silent reminder of how quickly power can shift when it's built on lies. But I didn't focus on that anymore, because something unexpected had happened. I started to feel seen. My ideas were now acknowledged. In meetings, people asked for my thoughts. My inbox, once ignored, now buzzed with collaboration requests. And David, he didn't just listen now. He looked to me as a key player. At first, it was overwhelming. Then, it felt natural. I had been invisible so long that I forgot what it felt like to take up space. But with every small win, I reclaimed something I had lost along the way, my confidence, my sense of worth, my voice. One evening, after another long but fulfilling day, I walked into my apartment, kicked off my heels, and poured myself a glass of wine. I opened my laptop. Just for curiosity, I typed Rachel's name into the search bar. Her LinkedIn profile was still active, but stripped bare. No job title. No company listed. Just open to new opportunities. There were rumors she had tried interviewing at other firms, but my story had traveled faster than she anticipated. Corporate circles are smaller than people think. And reputations? They stick. I closed the tab. Not out of spite, but because I no longer needed to watch her fall to feel like I had risen. I was building something now. Something real. Then came the letter. Not an email. A real letter. Mailed to my office. No return address. I opened it cautiously, half expecting some legal nonsense. But it wasn't that. It was different. The handwriting was neat, formal. Emily, I lost everything. And maybe I deserved to. I told myself that if I could just climb faster, win sooner, be louder, I'd finally feel enough. But you reminded me what real strength looks like. You didn't scream. You didn't beg. You stood your ground. That's something I never learned. I don't expect forgiveness. But I hope someday I'll understand how to be a better version of the person I pretended to be. I read it twice. And then a third time. It didn't fix anything. It didn't erase the sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the humiliation I'd endured. But it did something I never expected. It closed the loop. I folded the letter, slipped it back into the envelope, and tucked it in my drawer. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Sometimes, the battles we don't want are the ones that shape us the most. Months later, I was asked to speak at a company-wide event on resilience and professional growth.
Me.
The woman who used to second-guess sending emails, now standing on a stage with a mic in her hand. I told them the truth. Not just about the corporate world or about navigating betrayal, but about fear. About being underestimated. About rising anyway. After the talk, a younger woman from another department approached me. Her voice was soft, her hands nervously clasped. I just wanted to say thank you. You made me feel like I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not alone. And that's when it hit me. This story wasn't just mine anymore. It was for every woman who's been stepped over, silenced, stolen from, and who still chose to rise. Back at my desk, I looked at the empty chair where Rachel used to sit. It didn't haunt me anymore. It reminded me that nothing and no one can erase what's meant for you, no matter how hard they try. I took a deep breath, looked out the window, and smiled. Because this was only the beginning. I didn't just survive her betrayal. I used it as fuel, and now she'll never sit in my shadow again.